Position players have reported to Camelback Ranch, and Rick Hahn provides insight on the Elvis Andrus signing, as well as what it means for Romy Gonzalez. Make no mistake about it, Yasmani Grandal is the catcher, not the designated hitter. How does Yaz plan on staying behind the plate this season? Also, Tim Anderson provides a simple but direct quote regarding Jose Abreu.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong diehard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Lance Lynn and Tim Anderson have provided some early quotes worth paying attention to. Pedro Grifol likes what he sees from Yasmani Grandal, but why should we expect more from Yaz? And with Elvis Andrus back on the team, what happens to Gonzalez, Sosa, and Garcia? Hey, welcome back to Locked On White Sox. Position players are here in Glendale, Arizona. Thank you for continuing to pass this podcast along to other White Sox fans in your life as the Sox get ready for their first game of the spring this Saturday, February 25th, and it's going to be televised, so take advantage of that. Hey, Wednesday is Mailbag Wednesday, so if you haven't already, get in your questions and comments. You can email them at lockedonsox@gmail.com. I've got some great ones already as we start to reimagine a little bit some of the projections that were made by baseball pundits regarding this White Sox team now that Elvis Andrus has signed and is returning to the South Side. I don't know if you've ever heard this. You play like you practice and practice how you play. I used to hear that a lot growing up, playing Little League and all different kinds of levels of baseball up until I got to high school. And then I had a pitching coach that used to say/yell, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. I don't know if you ever heard that one, if that's even possible, but it sure seems like that is what Pedro Grifol and the coaching staff are trying to implement early on. Ramp up the intensity a little bit, create a game-like situations so they are ready to go, hitting the ground running come opening day. We received a lot of information from Rick Hahn on the Elvis Andrus signing. He talked on Monday to the media. Elvis Andrus is back. We've got the veteran presence, a good clubhouse guy. Was this a guy that was maybe on Pedro Grifol's wish list early on? The White Sox were definitely on Elvis Andrus's wish list. And, this was the first time, again, he hit free agency in his career and wanted to come back to the White Sox, but, wanted to see what was out there as a natural shortstop. I'm sure he might have been a little anxious moving to second base, knowing that that was going to have to be the case if he returned to the South Side. So could have Andrus been on Grifol's wish list? I'm not sure, but, he sure fits in the chemistry, way of thinking of things, with Grifol and communication and team culture and trying to change everything and put this team in a different direction. Elvis Andrus seemed to be a well-liked guy, and it's good to have him back. This is what Rick Hahn had to say on Monday. Everyone saw what he was capable of doing on the field over his stretch of time with us, which obviously was extremely productive. What many people who weren't close to the team may well have missed was the impact he had in our clubhouse. He is a tremendous role model for our young players. His work ethic, professionalism, the way he plays the game are all great benefits to that club. Very happy to have him back, as was alluded to Sunday night. He is here with the expectation that he'll very likely be the everyday second baseman. Obviously, also provides us with a little bit of protection should we need him on the other side of the diamond. But initially, the fit is very clearly at second base. There was an interest from the start in bringing him back, Rick Hahn said. He knew we wanted him. He knew TA was going to be the everyday shortstop, and this was his first opportunity of his career to test free agency. He wanted to see what was available to him. Ultimately, he had options to go elsewhere, but I think he felt very comfortable here and liked the idea of playing with this group and playing for a team with very high expectations. With the change in the shift rules, having someone with range and a strong arm and good instincts is going to be of added benefit in the middle infield. We think Elvis profiles that way, Rick Hahn continued. Certainly going to be no doubt that he's going to put the work in to make himself as good as possible at that position, and look forward to getting started today. Something we talked about yesterday on my weekly podcast, Good Guys Talk Back, with my co-host Pat Hester. I mentioned it on the most recent Locked On episode. The range, you're going to need so much more range this year at the second base position with the shift being banned, and Rick Hahn spoke of that on Monday. More from Hahn. I think Andrus felt very comfortable here and liked the idea of playing with this group. I wanted to repeat that because that is something that I think has been talked about a lot this past offseason. Will players actually want to come to the Chicago White Sox? Is this a place of destination? And for Elvis Andrus, seeing what the potential of this team is, seeing that, it was enticing to Andrus. So what happens to Romy Gonzalez, a guy that everybody was so high on just a week ago, getting praise from Grifol, from Hahn, videos coming out by the Chicago White Sox featuring Romy Gonzalez talking about how he's ready to win the position. This is what Hahn said. Romy is going to move around the infield. He's going to even play a little bit of corner outfield as well. It's something he did some in college. Someone described it as a Ben Zobrist type role. He's going to be all over. He's very solid at 3 infield positions, and we are going to get him more experience on the outfield corners and see where that leads us. The versatility will be a benefit to us, and we think the bat will play in the big leagues. Very confident Romy is going to help us win ball games in Chicago in some capacity over the course of this season, Hahn said. Interesting. That sounds like what Leury Garcia was doing for the Chicago White Sox team for a few years. Playing a little bit outfield, could play several positions. Now, Romy Gonzalez is a right-handed bat. Leury Garcia obviously can give you left-right. So getting back to Elvis Andrus, there was a great video of Andrus talking about, just being back with the White Sox, and Daryl Van Scoven from the Chicago Sun-Times tweeted it out. Find that video if you can. I mean, Elvis Andrus has just a smile for miles. It is awesome seeing the excitement and how relieved and happy he is. Now, there was some anxiety he talked about regarding, his first free agency. He was very open about that, not sure where he was going to go, trusted his agent, but reiterated, hey, I wanted to come back to the White Sox. And just seeing his smile, I smiled that he is so excited to be with this club. So to make room for Elvis Andrus, a left-handed pitcher, Bennett Sousa, was designated for assignment, losing a left-handed arm there. Interesting. Sosa was 27 years old, went 3-0 with an 8.41 ERA, 1 save, 6 holds, and 12 strikeouts over 25 appearances with the White Sox in 2022. His first Major League season. Now let's talk a little bit about Lenyn Sosa. What's going to happen to him now? This is what Hahn said. Sosa being a little bit younger and a little less far along in his development wouldn't surprise me if he makes an impact in Chicago as well. But having that depth in the middle infield puts us in a better position to withstand whatever lies ahead. I'm assuming what Rick Hahn might be alluding to are injuries, perhaps. You got to have that depth. You got to be strong up the middle. Need to improve defensively. I mean, that's an understatement with what happened with this White Sox team last season. And the Sox got better on Sunday by bringing Elvis Andrus back. So again, what about Leury Garcia? Haven't heard his name thrown around in any of these comments. Is he the odd man out? It'd be tough to let go of that money that is owed to him. That would be difficult. I don't see the White Sox doing that. However, if Romy can do everything and probably has a little bit more power, why is Leury still on the team? I mean, the left-handed bat and maybe the money, maybe some more clarification in that in the coming days. All White Sox fans want to forget about last season, and Yasmani Grandal feels the same way. He's ready for the workload of a full season, and Pedro Grifol has been impressed. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays, and I know my goal is to eat a little bit more healthier this year. If you're like me, where you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then I've got just the thing for you. Got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. They're so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. If you are still doing that, congratulations, by the way. What makes Built so good? For starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. Not sure how Built does it. These bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is they are healthy. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box in the mail for years. We've been talking about ordering your Built bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk up to the pharmacy section and grab yourself a box of Built bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream double chocolate or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. Yasmani Grandal, there's a faction of fans, and I totally get it, that wanted to see Yasmani Grandal off this team. I'm sure I was in that camp last season, extremely frustrated, as I know Yasmani Grandal was after reading everything I have read this past off season. He stayed in Chicago, was working out like crazy, to improve himself behind the plate, get his legs strong. That will help his offense. And, we're getting more information. I feel like every couple weeks, there's something more on Yasmani Grandal and what he's looking forward to and what's being said about him. This is what Grandal said right off the bat. We've already spoke about last year. It's a new year. Let's talk about this year. Amen to that. I absolutely agree with it. Grandal went further, grueling, as in like where I was at the end of last year. Yes, when regards to his workout program this offseason. But previous years before that, I got after it pretty hard. It was exactly what I was looking for. You see the difference right away. You see the difference catching and moving and running and hitting and then recovering. It's way faster than you are used to recovering. That's why the regimen of training 7 days a week and understanding what it is that we needed to do on a daily basis, that's why it helps out once you get to spring training. You don't have the body aches, the pains, nothing like that. It's a matter of coming in and keeping your routine going and taking it all the way from here to the end of the season. It feels good driving the ball the way I want, Grandal said. My legs are working the way I want. The difference from this year to last year is I had to try and swing, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be effortless. It should feel like you're not even trying to swing the bat. The bat is just going, which is how I'm feeling at this moment. Wow, that's great to hear. Remember, that was one of the issues that derailed his power, whether it was last season or especially a couple seasons ago. At the beginning of the year, he just didn't have his legs. He could not get any power generated because he didn't feel right the lower half. And what I really love about these quotes, and I know everybody's feeling great, everybody's in the best shape of their life, but the talk of, look, I got to get myself going in the off season. I can't start getting myself going at Camelback Ranch because, like Grandal just said, the aches and pains, you might just not be feeling right. I need to already have gone through that this past off season. So I hit the ground running in Camelback Ranch, and then I am absolutely ready to go come opening day. This is Grandal on what he's seen from Pedro Grifol. He's been great, Grandal said. Obviously, you see him pretty much all over the place. I can only speak for the catching group. He's been with us. He shared his knowledge when it comes down to catching. He's talked about pitchers. He's talked about sequences and stuff like that, game situations and things like that. So from that standpoint of view, he's been great. And remember, Salvi Perez, pretty good catcher for the Kansas City Royals for multiple years. He could not say enough good things about Pedro Grifol and how Grifol helped him out during his early years. Catcher, not DH. This was from a Merkin article. Grandal is Grifol's catcher, with the manager not even thinking about games at DH for Grandal at this point. Grandal doesn't have a set number of starts behind the plate on his mind. Again, working in the final season of a 4-year, $73 million deal, leaving that decision to the coaching staff. I'm going to be ready on a daily basis, and whenever I'm playing, I'm playing. Whenever I'm not, I'm still doing whatever it is I need to do to get ready, Grandal said. The fact that I'm able to move through the bottom while I'm catching, being agile back there, being strong, having my legs underneath me, it's going to allow me to do many things behind the plate, whether it's blocking, receiving, or throwing, whatever it is that I need to do from that aspect of the game, it feels really good. And Grifol, on Grandal's health, he's been able to get in positions this year that he wasn't able to get in last year body-wise. He's working lower to the ground. He doesn't have to get on a knee as much. So now we're just fine-tuning the details. He just wasn't healthy last year, and now he is. He's working his butt off. It's a prove-it year for Yasmani Grandal. He has definitely talked about coming back to the White Sox. We shall see. But again, you got to be healthy, and it sure sounds like he is in a different spot at this point than he was last year. Maybe the disappointment and embarrassment of 2022 will provide a motivation for this season. Perhaps it really might. They're just words, though. But the White Sox players seem to have an edge about them. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on anything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Some news and notes. Again, there has been so many articles to pour over these last several days. A lot of video and, of course, quotes and testimonials, what players have done this past offseason to get them ready, what they think about this team. And of course, with the addition of Elvis Andrus on Sunday, there seems to be a little bit more excitement over the last 48 hours, I would say. And all those projections and predictions that came out a week or so, they might be tweaked a little bit. Again, I don't think Elvis Andrus puts this White Sox team all of a sudden in the AL elite. But I absolutely love the veteran presence. I love the range he's going to bring to second base. I love hearing, how so much of a great, clubhouse guy he is, a mentor to the young guys on this team. He wants to be here. The White Sox wanted him to be here. And 1 year, $3 million, and that's what it took. And it just, I don't know about you as a White Sox fan, but breathing a little easier, knowing that it looks like we've got second base figured out, and now we've got some depth, especially with how excited everyone is about Romy Gonzalez. Got to see it still, like what I'm hearing, but got to see what he can do, and creating a little bit of competition. Maybe Romy Gonzalez and Lenyn Sosa step it up a little bit more. Now they're in a battle, and again, Leury Garcia. Again, you want to anoint Elvis Andrus and have you're my second baseman, but I think there's still going to be a competition that's healthy. They meaning Gonzalez and Sosa, at least to get to learn from a veteran and how he handles his business, meaning Elvis Andrus. So Tim Anderson, got a quote from him, and it's simple, very direct, but I love it. It's regarding Jose Abreu, and this is what Anderson said. We're definitely going to miss him, but we're not going to dwell on him. We're opening up with him, so we'll see him. It's still love, but we got to push towards our goals as well. It's simple. It's very, very simple, but I think that is a great point. Look, respect to you, Jose Abreu. You are going to be a White Sox legend. You'll be regarded as a legend. You'll have your number retired. You'll have a statue, but we're not thinking about you. We are moving on with the team that we have. We'll see you early. And we'll be aware of what you're doing, but we're not going to dwell on you. I thought that was simple, but it's impactful. It's meaningful on what Tim Anderson said. Sox got through the first 5 days of camp with no injuries. Knock on wood, Grifol said. That's a big part of this thing, a huge part of this thing. Feedback from players will allow us to be proactive instead of reactive. Thank you, Pedro Grifol. Proactive instead of reactive. Grifol continued. That's a really important message in this camp. Let's get ahead of these things so we can nip them in the bud a little bit. I can't like that quote enough. That has been something I thought the White Sox have lacked in over the years. Reactive instead of proactive. Like hearing that so much from Grifol. Andrew Benintendi arrived. He talked with the media on Monday. This is what he had to say. I know what this team could do. I'm happy to be a part of it. You can't win a World Series in April, May, or July, but you can set yourself up to be in a spot, and that's what I plan on doing, taking spring training to get ready. Another simple message, but set yourself up for success right now, and obviously we hope that is a whole team thing that occurs. Solid praise for Grifol as well. Benintendi, obviously, with that experience playing in Kansas City, and thinks that this ball club, this group of players will really enjoy Pedro Grifol. And then how about Lance Lynn? This is a great quote from Lance Lynn. I don't know if you saw it. Someone told me we're projected to be under 500. That's pretty good because we were 500 last year. With a crummy team. He used a different word. So I like our chances of being better than their projections this year. This is my third year here. They haven't been correct with any of them so far. Hopefully we make sure they're not correct again, and definitely on the way higher side than whatever amount of wins they have. Lance Lynn bringing the fire. I think he's also going to take on a leadership role as well. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcast. We're on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_. GGTV. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get your questions in for Wednesday's mailbag episode, lockedonsox@gmail.com. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And coming up on the next episode, we're going to open up the mailbag as battles for roster spots continue as the White Sox inch closer to their first game of the spring. Really appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski, and until next time, go Sox.